My name is Josh Wynn. I am the program coordinator for Buckeye Wellness here at Ohio State. I want to thank you all for coming. A couple announcements before we get started. We have our faculty and staff dodgeball tournament on December 19th. So if you have not registered a team of 6 or yourself, visit go.osu.edu/dodgeball2018. If you have not done your biometric screening or your PHA yet, your deadline is December 31st. I would highly recommend you getting that done now rather than later. So if you have not done your biometric screening or haven't scheduled it yet, you can see the ladies outside. For today, our program, November is National Diabetes Awareness Month. So today we're going to help you manage diabetes by cooking with natural ingredients based on the ADA recommendation. Our presenters today are Colleen Reinhart. She is the program manager for diabetes education here at the university. And Dave Brew is the program manager for Central Production Kitchen here at the university. So give them a well. What?
Hasn't that changed?
Oh, okay. Give them a well welcome. Thank you. Oh, before we get started, sorry. This is a kind of open mic. So if you have any questions, just feel free to raise your hand and we'll bring the mic to you. If you're on the webinar, please shoot me an email, winn.50@osu.edu, and we'll get those answered. Thank you.
Well, hi. Thank you for coming. Can you guys hear me okay? This is kind of bouncing off a little bit. So my name is Colleen Reinhart. What I do here at the university is I am the program manager for diabetes education. If there is a patient here that needs to be educated for diabetes, needs a refresher for diabetes, and all of the diabetes, I'm the person that comes to see them at the bedside. So it's me and the entire campus here. So when we get to do a big bunch of people, a group of people that we can try and flood education into, it's like feeds our soul to do this kind of presentation. So on any given day, I can see patients who come in through the ER and just have those typical symptoms of high blood sugars, constant thirst, fatigue, peeing all the time, blurred vision. Those are some of the main symptoms of higher blood sugars to those with type 1 diabetes who are freshmen here at Ohio State, and all of a sudden they've come from out of state and now they forget how to do things, or it's a different place, everything's different, so they have issues, and all of a sudden they're here in the hospital with DKA. So the way that we see patients here is kind of really broad, but it's one of my favorite things to do. I don't know if my bio is attached anywhere, but I have lived with type 1 diabetes for 3 decades. So I was diagnosed when I was a small child. I know I don't look that old, so I don't look that old at all. But it's something that I have a big passion, and passion isn't even the word for it. I can't find one that's great enough to explain how cool it is to do this on a daily basis. So for National Diabetes Awareness Month, we've gotten a really good relationship, the Department of Endocrinology, especially diabetes education, with doing some really good hands-on demos of how to do this well. When I see a patient, the number one question that I get asked is, it's not how do I use insulin, it's not how do I recover from a low blood sugar, it's, oh my gosh, I'm completely overwhelmed with my food choices. And how do I do this when I leave? I have no idea. And then they freak out, and then they don't take their insulin because they're afraid, and then they don't eat right because they're afraid, or they just don't know what to do. So here in the university, we try to take things at very small little bits. You know, there's so much trendy diet information out there right now. Google anything, and you'll find 1,000 different ways to do 1,000 different things. But when it comes to you feeling well, you could cut out every carb in your diet, but if you feel poor, you're doing something wrong. And I hate to even say wrong, good or bad, but there's some modification that you're missing in your life. Your body needs fuel, so we need to give us the right fuel. So when I see patients, you know, we have a big fast food community here, unfortunately. I mean, we have a Wendy's here at the hospital. It is the bane of my existence. I do appreciate it for small things like their chili, because it's really delicious. But there's other things where I'm trying to teach them. And I always say, we do not encourage fast food, but we know it's your reality when you leave here. We know it's in your face all the time. Drive down Olentangy, we can see it all over the place. So I pull out nutrition information. This is what you're eating, this is what you're doing. And not that it's your choices just can be modified. And do this correctly. And if this is what you're gonna do not drink your calories, do not drink your sugars, do not drink your carbs. If there's one thing that could be eliminated from the entire world, then we'd be better off, is regular soda.
Soda pop.
I'm from the East Coast, so it's soda.
Yeah, dang straight.
So I do little modifications like that. Do we want them to change everything they're doing? No, because it's not sustainable. You need small little things to grasp onto in order to graduate from being in the hospital. You know, my favorite thing is Mountain Dew. I'm drinking a case of it every day. That's what I get from patients often. Why are they drinking a case of Mountain Dew? Because their blood sugars are high and they're thirsty. So it doesn't matter what's in front of them. They drink whatever's in front of them. But unfortunately, it's a case of Mountain Dew. Change that one thing. Modify that one thing. Cut that down by half when you go home. Replace it with Sprite Zero. Replace it with a water with lemon flavoring. If you give them one thing to fly on, typically they will take off with it. And then hopefully you won't see them back in the hospital. If you do, they're going to like run at you in the grocery store and they're going to be like, look what I did, which is what we get often. So just some quick statistics about diabetes also. So 30.3 million of us in the US live with diabetes. About 1.2 million live with type 1. So it's obviously something that in my opinion can't be sustained for much longer because there's 84 million, if you can even think about that number. It's hard for me to conceptualize what that really looks like. 84 million live with prediabetes, and half of those within 5 years will have diabetes. So in the general gist of what we're trying to do here also is not only treat or, get a catastrophe when you're here in the hospital, but we want to do prevention. We want to talk about how to make yourself feel better, feel well, and cooking is really where it's at. I see some familiar faces in the audience from other cooking demos that I've done and things that we've done here in the university to improve our health living with diabetes. And I just hope that we see this in demos happen more often. Ask for them. Make sure that it's something that we're doing well here because it's really easy. And then some other things that I found, I was asked to put on a presentation to teach school nurses how to deal with type 1 diabetes. So then I'm like, oh my gosh, that's kind of a big ticket. You gift your children off to a school nurse and they have diabetes and then it's worry. It can be very concerning. But I wanted to know what in general we're doing for our children's health, not just with diabetes, but health-wise. And I found out it says that on average nowadays, our children are spending 7.5 hours in front of a screen. Does that shock anyone? I mean, it floors me. 7.5 hours. 1 in 3 of those children aren't getting enough physical activity. 1 in 3. We're missing the mark on 30% of our adolescents. So when I do any speech like this, any talk, any class, it's like these things need to be done because we're all humans and we're all living, like our goal is to live well and have really good quality of life. Sitting in front of a screen for 7.5 hours, that 84%, prediabetes is existing in our adolescent and our youth. So this is just something, get up and move around. After you eat, take a 10-minute walk. Your insulin needs will decrease. Your insulin resistance will decrease. There's tons of research out there that shows that. So it's a very powerful thing to just get up and move. We're tired though. So we come home from work, we're walking all day and my watch is constantly telling me to get up and walk, which sometimes really aggravates me. But it will tell me to get up and move around every hour. Get up. You need to get up. And I do. I have a 7-year-old and a 3-year-old. My 7-year-old has a watch that will tell him to get up and move if he hasn't moved. So it's really cool for us to get this done. Technology is part of our future, so we have to adapt into that and incorporate that. But yeah, 1 in 3 children aren't as physically active as they should be, and less than 5% of adults are getting in 30 minutes daily of physical activity. It's shocking. It is shocking to me. So that's just an awareness, to something for us to be a little bit more aware of what we have coming down the path for us. So with these recipes, Dave and I had talked just about some fun things that we could do. With me, food is all about creativity. I love to throw down in the kitchen. I love to get my kids' hands dirty there. I love to cook all the time, and then sometimes, I'm getting Chipotle. So, there's different things. However, I will never get Chipotle rice. So there's just a lot of different stuff that we can do. So we are going to do a faux black bean noodle soup. And the noodles that we're going to use in here are black bean noodles. And we've used these in our class before. So to compare regular noodles with black bean noodles, the protein is about 20 to 24 grams per serving of protein and about 16 grams of carbs compared to the 40 grams of carbs you'd get in the same amount of
and
regular
nowhere
pasta.
near that amount of protein.
Nowhere near the amount of protein. And the taste, we will have some food for you guys to
absolutely.
sample. The taste is there. It's not often the taste of pasta. It's the texture of the pasta that we want. Pasta doesn't have a taste. It's just flour. So it's not like we're trying to pull all this information from it. It's the sauce and the meat and all the business you put on it that has the taste to it. So if you can take that and incorporate in that one modification, yes, they're a little bit more pricey, but it's becoming less and less of a cost because they're becoming something that people want to get. Yes, go ahead.
There's also something called Shirataki Noodles.
Shirataki noodles. So they're made from mushrooms.
Yep.
You find them, they're like in a little water.
Yep, they're in,
for people on,
I almost bought them if it makes you feel any better. I was that close.
and you do have you had them before? So the shirataki noodles, they're like 25 calories in a whole container of this stuff. Because it really is, not marshmallows, it's mushrooms. Do not eat marshmallow pasta, do not do that. So, but it's like 25 calories. However, wash them off. The smell of these things is atrocious. But they do taste fairly good. The texture is different from a black bean noodle. You'll try, and it's very different. However, if you want the pasta, if you just need the pasta, that's another great option. It's held in like a liquid. I don't know if it's water or not that it's in. But you got to rinse them really well. But they're in like your health food section, typically where your like yogurts are. They can be found in that.
They're also in, just to touch base on that, because I almost bought them for this actual recipe. They're also in the Asian aisles as far as the ethnicity international aisles, that kind of thing.
Ethnic food aisles.
Yeah, they're pretty interesting.
So that will be the black bean noodle soup, and then the pumpkin pie cannoli cone. See, this is what I do to this group too. The way that they cook blows my mind. I've seen them create things that I just wouldn't even imagine. The way they taste is phenomenal. And then I'm like, can you make this dessert with a cone full of stuff and make it so it's pretty and cute? My people like it. And I need it to be 15 carbs, and I need it to be about 150 calories. And I found this recipe. Can you make it? And they're like, for goodness sakes, you're going to make a cannoli out of a hot dog bun. This is crazy. But they let me do it, so it's wonderful.
Actually, it's a pretty good recipe. It looks
It's
really
typically
cool.
the things that they do find. It's really great stuff, and it's resourceful. It can be really inexpensive. So I think the pumpkin pie cannoli cone will be something that you can make at home with your children,
Oh,
your
it's super easy.
grandchildren, and it's just
Super
super
easy.
easy. So throughout this whole session, please feel free to raise your hand. We'll have mics in your. Please feel free to ask questions. This is a very movable, open group. So we love questions and interaction. And we can talk about even, if you have questions about modifications, and a lot of recipes that I bake for my children when they were super, super little, I would use real whole eggs, but now I've substituted egg whites for that. And I also used, instead of oil, I'll always put applesauce to sub that in. It keeps it nice and moist, takes the fat out. That fat, it's not necessary. So we can substitute really good things. So flip that. If you're half a cup of oil, flip it with your half a cup of applesauce. It makes it so tasty and delicious. Just takes that little bit out.
We have a question over here. Where do you buy the black bean noodles?
So the black bean noodles, fortunately, are becoming more trendy. In the beginning, I would say a couple years ago when we brought them to this group, I would buy them on Amazon. But you can find them at Kroger, you can find them at Whole Foods, you can find them everywhere.
Giant Eagle's got them.
Giant Eagle's got them.
A lot of these grocery stores, and not just to touch base on it,
Yeah.
they're actually changing and modifying the way people are buying food now. They're actually watching the food trends, like Colleen was saying. And because of that, we are actually able to get better food, especially in like places like Ohio, where you can't get where you used to not be able to get such good food, now you can. So, everything that you guys have talked about, I was able to go to Giant Eagle, what day did I go? The other day? And I was like, oh, let's do this, this, and this. And it was right there. It was readily available. It was easy for me to grab, all that kind of stuff. Sorry.
And it's really easy. The cost is also coming down. When I first bought a box of black bean noodles, it was like $5 or $6. Now they're $2 and $3. But that will sustain my family for 3 days. It's just worth for me sustaining that nutrition and the energy of my children and my family, and also people that I see or cook for. It's phenomenal if you haven't tried it yet. So I highly encourage you, given that.
Yeah, same with like the
giving that a good try.
garbanzo noodles, garbanzo noodles. If you can get used to the texture, and it does take a little bit of time. You got to cook it just a little bit differently. But like Colleen was saying, there's 5 or 6 different brands now.
Yeah.
And now that people are catching on and they're actually purchasing this stuff. Well, the big giant chains are starting to take notice a little bit more, and they're bringing in new products, new ideas, that kind of thing. And those things are great, by the way. I don't know if anybody's ever tried the garbanzo bean pasta. That banza pasta is super amazing. Yeah.
Does it keep well? So if you prepare meals ahead of time, does this pasta last if you put it in the fridge?
So I don't prepare pasta meals like super far in advance, but if I were bringing it to like a family dinner, absolutely. If I were bringing it to like a Thanksgiving and I was making it, I would probably keep it for 2 days, and that would be all I'd keep it for. Because I'm probably going to devour it anyways, it being something that I really that I love. It's not going to last that long in my house, but yeah, I would say it would keep. What do you think?
Yeah, I wouldn't say more than 1 or 2 days, but sure. I couldn't see any way why it wouldn't. I know what you're saying. We actually, in the industry, as far as culinarians go, if you actually watch us and how we actually prepare our food or prepare the food that your eyes are actually eating in front of you. In fact, my good friend Ryan made the salads that you guys are having today. He's a pretty good chef, and I can show you a couple of tricks that he did for that. We have to make things in bulk, and we actually have to par cook our noodles due to the fact that we do not have the time to serve you guys when you guys order or when the patients order, like upstairs, that kind of stuff. So as a hospital, we only have a 3-day shelf life on everything, and we actually kind of watch that. We don't really press it past 3 days at all. Like it's like 2.5. We try to transition it that fast. So we're not making too much. We're not making too little. It's right on the point on that sort of stuff. But absolutely, I wouldn't see why it wouldn't. I can't say I'm going to have to agree with Colleen on this one. I eat it. Every time that I've done anything with them, I've just eaten it.
Yeah, they're
And,
good.
yeah,
They're
just-
delicious.
Yeah.
Even my kid, the young man who brought my groceries via Kroger Click List, which is like the best thing in the universe for me in my life. Kroger Click List, whew, it's amazing. He's like, those noodles. My mom uses those noodles. I was like, yes. So it was really great to see that. Again, becoming very. I mean, if it's a trend, get that trend.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Maybe done in a crock pot like regular noodles?
I haven't tried that. In fact, Joe and I were actually kind of messing around. We're actually starting a bone marrow transplant class for our bone marrow transplant patients in the new James Culinary Education Kitchen. We're actually writing that. We're actually trying to write some of that stuff in due to the fact that our caregivers only have certain kinds of equipment, crock pots being one of them, a saute pan being another one. So we're actually kind of testing that kind of stuff to see if it actually holds. We were doing it yesterday. We just didn't get to that part of the recipe yet. So it's pretty neat, yeah. Whatever we see, how we do, that kind of thing. We're trying. If it makes you feel any better, anytime that we see a trend, we actually try to jump on it and just dissect it, try to move it, that kind of thing, see what we can do with it. So we beat food up all the time. I know that sounds kind of weird, but we try to destroy food to make sure that you guys can't. So when we actually out here and we're teaching you guys how to do something, it's great. You're going to go
looks great
home.
right now. It
And
looks
yeah,
perfect
you're going to
right
go home. We're going to give you a recipe. We're going to try to make it as simple and as easy as for you. That's kind of why we just to touch base on the recipes a little bit. Why we chose some. A lot of these recipes,
Super
like the
easy.
faux black bean noodle soup, when we were making that the other day, it's extremely interchangeable. If you notice at the bottom half of the recipe too, there is added additions if you want extra heat in it. There's tons of different stuff that you can do. You can take stuff out. You can make it vegetarian. It's not that hard. Still tastes pretty good. This is one of those interchangeable soups, and that's really cool about soup, and that's one of the things that we love about soup very much. So.
Yeah. So do you guys want to get going on
Yeah, we
our
can get going if you
start
guys
the
wanna see
soup
it.
and
All right,
see
cool.
how that works?
All right, so yeah, thanks so much. I am the culinary educator for here. I just have not updated Josh with my new titles and stuff like that, even though it's been over 2 years now. So that's my fault, not his. But yes, I actually, Colleen and I have been working together for probably, 2-3 years now?
Yeah.
Something along those lines, and we both have a passion for this kind of thing. When I found out about it, I told her about my wife. My wife is type 1 diabetic. She's been that way for 12 years now.
We found out when she was pregnant with their first child. If
During
that gives you any
Thanksgiving.
aspect
So as
about
a diabetic during Thanksgiving and newly, to touch base on what Colleen was
pregnant
saying.
during Thanksgiving, type 1 diabetes.
Right. It's
like
kind of a trifecta
trifecta.
of hate right there. Like she wasn't feeling it very well. I'm just telling you that much. So with that being said, like we had to learn on the fly during Carb Central. And it was very difficult. It was a difficult transition for us as a family. It was but enough about that. And Colleen and I started working together. It's a very, very mutual relationship that we have as far as teaching and educating about food and what we can do and making it taste good. So anyway, I'm going to start off with the faux black bean noodle here, guys. This one's really easy to do. I'm going to show you a couple of quick grocery store tricks as well. Yes, it does look like there's a lot of ingredients. You do not have to purchase all of these. The main ones that you would purchase would be the mushrooms, the onions, probably a couple of the miso. That's about it, really. And the stock, however you wanted to do it. But just kind of substitute stuff in and out. I'm huge into it, and why I pick on Ryan a little bit. If you notice I didn't really pick on him, but the shredded carrots, if you guys had that in the salad, I don't know if you guys have ever seen how that's done. We call them julienne. As far as the culinary world goes, hopefully you guys can see everything on my cutting board here. Okay, cool. And this is a neat little toy you can pick up at Sur La Table. It costs you about $15. There's this one. That's my favorite. I've had that for years. Or you can pick up something like this. This is a microplane. It's basically a quick julienne. It does a couple of different ways. So you can go here and just kind of grate your carrot over top of it. It comes out these beautiful colors, just like that. If you want it to look like that, It's just neat little chef tricks that we've always been able to do. Hopefully you can see that. No, we cannot, apparently. This one is also just a little bit finer. If anybody can see this here, hopefully everybody can. Oh, there we are. Excellent. Just kind of looks cool. I have 3 different types of carrots. Carrots are not all the same color. One is white, one is orange, one is purple. Makes me happy. I like color on my plate. I don't know about you guys. One of the biggest things that Colleen and I have always taught, or Jim if he's here, we eat with our eyes first, then we smell it, and then we finally get to taste it. So that's a big, big variation to all of that as far as that goes. So, but we do eat with our eyes first. So I'm going to start by real quick, and this makes my job super easy, same like Ryan's when he did that for you guys. As far as I'm just going to shred a couple of quick carrots real quick. There we go. Give this to my good friend Joe here. Thank you, sir. And when Joe was able to do this, when we were messing around with these recipes, as far as the cannoli one, this is where it gets kind of neat. We were able to modify it enough so we actually were able to take out some of the sugars and some of the carbs as far as that goes and make it a little bit better. I think it ended up coming a little tastier, to be honest with you. There we go. So I've got a pot of oil, if you guys can see it right here. It's not a lot of oil, just a little bit. We use a little, you can use olive oil, it's a little bit healthier for you, but I've got vegetable, like a 50-50 blend in there, I believe, something along those lines. Thank you, Joe. And it's just starting to get a little bit hot. When it comes to an oil in a pan, guys, before you put anything in, if you want to get that nice caramelization, you kind of start hearing it go right now, and you'll hear it when I drop it in there. You just want to get it to the point where it's just about to start to smoke and set off your smoke alarms. Don't set off your smoke alarms. That's the biggest one right there. And when you do it, you're just going to kind of drop it off in there, and you want to hear the sizzling, lovely, beautiful sound that we like to hear, just like that. Very interesting, very easy, very simple. Certain orders that you actually do it. Carrots and onions can go in the same time. They're very viscous little guys here, and they like to be cooked a little bit longer. Same with the mushrooms. Mushrooms actually need to be cooked. So this being a one-pot meal, very easily, I'm just going to start throwing a bunch of stuff in. And as you can see, as I'm chopping here, I'm just doing a quick dice. Very simple. I forget how much actually I put in onion in here. Half a cup. That's about right. I'm going to sound that in there, and voila. Now, I do a couple of things. Grocery stores actually hate me. I'm one of those people that grocery stores cannot stand due to the fact of I go in there and I tear apart their vegetables. I do not like paying for things that I do not eat. These are shiitake mushrooms. I had oysters on here, I think, but they didn't look good. I teach my kids to go and take these stems off of mushrooms because I'm not going to eat this stem. They go in there, they rip it off, and they leave it there for everybody. And the guys that come up there, they say, "What are you doing?" "Well, I don't want to pay for what I'm not going to eat." And since you usually get charged by the pound on that sort of thing, it's one of the neat little tricks there. Works the same way for romaine lettuce. Right. Works the same way for lettuce too. I never eat the core of that lettuce, just like the bok choy I'm about to throw in here. All that good stuff. So right now, these are washed mushrooms. I just want to make sure that you guys know that washing all of your vegetables is essential. Mushrooms are grown in dirt. I do not like to eat dirt. I don't think dirt is a food trend right now, so I'm going to try to stay away from it as much as I possibly can. Joe, you want to help me take some of these stems off? Because we didn't do that before we did this. And voila. That should work. Should be good.
To speak a little bit about those black bean noodles in the crock pot that you had asked about, you can notice too when you try them and let them sit for a little while. My only concern is that they may become a little bit too smushy.
Yeah, they get a little bit goopy.
So they may become a little bit too. It doesn't have the same form as the regular pasta if you're going to put that in your. So I wouldn't recommend it. However, I haven't tried it. Just knowing kind of the touch and feel of it's a little different. Yes.
What's that?
Do you take off the stem of all your mushrooms?
No, but definitely shiitakes, because I'm definitely not going to eat them. They're way too rubbery. You don't cook them very well. They just change the texture of everything. I personally think they change the taste on it. Yeah.
Someone in the audience had asked for people watching the video if our chefs typically take all of the stems off their mushrooms, and the answer was no. Some yes, some no. Just
some,
based
yeah,
on
it depends
texture.
on what it is. We do a lot of, if you use portobellos, I actually gill those, is what they call gilling it, which is taking the brown stuff underneath it. That way you can actually get that meaty mushroom. Just take a spoon over top of it. You get that meaty mushroom without having all that brown and changing the color of everything in your dish there. So hopefully you guys can see this cooking a little bit. See all that nice oils and carrots and stuff like that going on. Next, please, is I think I'm going to throw a little bit of garlic in here, I believe, right? Did we not bring the garlic? Oh, we put the garlic chili paste in it. That's correct. Oh, thank you. This is actually one wonderful little product. It's nice, and it's just garlic chili sauce by the makers of Sriracha. It's super good, super spicy, but super tasty. A lot of good flavor behind that. Oh, yeah, lemongrass. All right. So this is a wonderful little product, too. If you wanted that lovely citrus aroma and you can't really find don't really want it to be lemon, but it needs to be a little bit fresher. Like I said, lemongrass is a wonderful thing. It's very stocky if you guys don't use it very often. Best way to kind of do it is just to kind of break it with the back of the spine of your knife, just like this, to kind of crush it up to get it going. And then you just run your knife through it just real fast. And then, of course, you want to chop it. Hopefully I don't chop my fingers off. All that good stuff. But you can kind of see it gets a little fibrous there, very fibrous product. Takes some time, but you know, just a little bit of that goes a long way. I just had it already have it done for our thing, for made-for-TV purposes, as far as that goes.
And for those who aren't here with us, but they're watching, I mean, the smell and that's coming out of that little pot is pretty intense, pretty awesome.
Now, hopefully you guys can smell it in the audience. And next thing I'm going to do, so I'm just going to add a couple of things here. This is our mirin, aji mirin, what we call it. It is just an Asian white wine. Always helps when we do stuff like that. It gives a little bit of sweetness, but without adding too much sugar to it, as far as that goes. Hope you guys can start to smell that there. I'm going to add our garlic chili here. Yeah, there we go. Hopefully get these flavors to come together for you. We're going to let this cook a little bit here. All right, there's that. And a little bit of spicy Chinese mustard. Believe it or not, you're like, wait a second, why Chinese mustard? Well, it was there and I liked it. And it actually tastes really good. It gives a lot of depth to the flavor. Is that it there, I believe? Yep. Oh, yep. And yep. So I've got, what I went with this one when we were creating this was 2 parts chicken stock, 1 part vegetable stock. I like extra vegetables in my food personally. I like to find ways to hide vegetables in my food. My kids hate that, but they don't know it's there, so it's okay. I'm going to bring this up to temp here. Hopefully get a nice, good, hopefully every guys can smell all of that. Let me get this going here. Any way that we can add extra vegetables makes things good. And actually, when you add vegetable stock too, you get a little bit of sweetness from all your vegetables without actually adding any extra sugar into your dish whatsoever. So hopefully you guys, when you try it, you'll be astonished by it there. We'll bring this up to boil. So we're just going to bring this to a simmer real quick, and while we're doing all of this fun stuff, you're like, come on out. There we go. Very simple there. All right. And final last ingredient for the stock and sauce is miso paste. You know, multiple different kinds of this. You can use red, yellow, white. There's tons of different stuff if you go to any Asian grocery store, that kind of stuff. This just happened to be one that was there and I grabbed type deal. So anyway, a lot of times you use this for your soup, or they call miso soup, that kind of thing. But it adds that salty flavor. Now, you guys are going to notice I didn't add any salt or pepper to this so far, other than the garlic chili sauce and now the miso paste. So when you guys taste it, you'll be like, oh, that's kind of crazy. Hopefully you like it. And there's that. All right. Cool beans. And what else do we do? Oh, the chicken. So we've been playing a lot around with this because when we were doing the testing this for the bone marrow transplant patients, I found that the rotisserie chicken, this stuff is actually pretty good. You know, as far as picking up a chicken and just throwing it, you know, into some stuff, you can do tons of stuff with this. It's a whole chicken there, and they don't cost that much. They're $6-7 at any grocery store that you kind of grab. But it's all cooked for you in any way. We can debone this real quick, and it's super, super tender. It's kind of needed for bone marrow patients there, bone marrow transplant patients. And we can just kind of chop it up and do a rough chop on any of this.
Do you have a question right now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Prepared foods, you've got the mirin, the miso paste, or chili sauce. Is there any shellfish?
So I haven't put it in yet. There is. You do not have to have, I mean, if you would like to try it without it, sure we can joke and scoop you out a little bit for you. Absolutely. No one wants to use your EpiPen right now. Those things are expensive from what I understand. So as of right now, there is no shellfish in it. That is one of those things that you can omit. We just found it gave it flavor. I like shrimp.
But it's not in the prepared sauces or anything.
Nope. The only shellfish is the shellfish right there. So I will, when this comes up to a certain temperature, we'll have Joe get you some out beforehand before I put the shrimp in. Now, what the cool thing about the shrimp is, and I'll show you this here in a second, is I actually left the shells on when I put this and we made this recipe. Shrimp shells actually add a lot of flavor to food. Like a lot of flavor, more than the actual product does. When you make a shrimp bisque or a lobster bisque or something along those lines, you're actually eating ground up shells. I know that sounds kind of crazy, but we'll throw it in a blender and then we actually strain it out. So you're not eating it, but there's so much immense flavor there. It's pretty crazy. What's that? Yeah, yep. A little bit of viscosity to it, absolutely. So we like doing that. So that's why I went ahead and left the shells on for the shrimp, due to the fact of, hey, it tastes pretty good. But you got to remember the biggest thing about that is making sure that what's the word I'm looking for? That you take the shells off before you eat them. Highly recommend it there. All right, we're gonna let that go for a second. I'm gonna switch my cutting board out here because once again, just like you did mention, the shellfish allergy, that kind of stuff. You see that color here, that's a nice, beautiful color. So I like to add certain things to it. If we are adding the greens to it, which is the bok choy or the baby bok choy that I have there, or the green onions or the sweet peas, I'm gonna add it very close to the very end because I don't want it wilting away. I still want to see that green, I want to see that big chunks to it. But we're gonna stir this up here. Hopefully they get this to a simmer here. Let everybody try it. Chef Dave's gonna try it. Always try your food. Yep, sure tastes like we did make the other day. That's pretty good. And then one of the more things was the black bean noodles that Colleen was kind of mentioning there. I had a tendency to actually, I found it better if we broke them up as opposed to keeping them long a little bit for this soup. That way they didn't stick or clump together because
And so quick. They cook incredibly quick.
so quick. In fact, you're actually
5
at the
minutes.
point where it's the same thing I can kind of tell you with the chives or the peas. When we serve this or serve this product, you can actually put the peas and the chives and or scallions or whatever you want to call them in as you've served it because it'll actually cook in the bowl, which is kind of neat. One of those neat little presentation pieces that we actually do there. All right, get this bad boy going here a second. All right, I'm just going to chop up some stuff before I hit the shrimp, and then, of course, Joe is going to take some out for this young lady that has the shellfish allergy. Another little quick trick with this stuff, I like presentation, so I like going a very, very long bias. If I'm cutting it on a diagonal, you get these really cool, like, long, neat little strands. If everybody can see my hands there, how that looks. Looks kind of cool when it goes into a soup bowl, that kind of thing. A lot of people, they do your typical, Joe's a big fan of the white part of the onion here. They look like this, like little scallions type, I think, but you can do that. It looks a little bit funny that kind of way. All right.
Is there anyone else that has a fish allergy?
So we have a couple of people, so maybe we should not do
Or not?
No, I'm just kidding.
Want the shrimp?
Yep. We'll get that out for you.
Appreciate it.
Let that come up to, if you guys want to try a little bit of it. Like I said, just admit it. It does change it, but doesn't really make it that big of a difference in it. All right, there's that. Voila. And bok choy, you guys can buy this anywhere. There's the big stocks. They come like this big. This is baby. I like the baby. They're a little bit more tender. Kind of nice.
I mean, I personally would probably buy that because it's cute.
It is cute.
I mean, that's what I do when I go to the grocery store. If I
Oh, is that vegetable?
actually make it in there. Like, look at how little that is. So, and I always say, too, when I see my patients and they're like, I don't like any vegetables. There's not one vegetable that I like. And there's so many people who I run into that they literally tell me not one vegetable do they like. And I said, okay, well, part of your prescription to leave here is that you're going to have to try one new thing, whether it be a fruit or a vegetable, once a week, and then just try it. Doesn't mean you have to like it. So in my house, too, I have a 3-year-old and a 7-year-old. They don't always have to like it, but they do have to try it.
Absolutely.
So
Mine
that
is
is
the
like
same
a mantra in our house, in our kitchen. And
Yep.
I will make them, not make them, they've really come to love helping me out in the kitchen. And I'm no culinary educator. I haven't been trained in the kitchen. However, to get them in there and do that, they're way more prone to eat the food they make, no matter what it is, if you get them in there and have them cook it.
Absolutely.
Like teeny little egg cups, teeny little, even if it's, I will put pureed spinach in everything I bake for them too. My kids are like, what is that? I was like, it's delicious. And then they eat brownies and they're floored that there's vegetables in their brownies. but I
Chocolate's
will.
a great masker of things.
I will absolutely have them get their hands all in it. So it's the same thing with my patients when I see them. They're like, I know you want me to eat more fresh vegetables, but, and then affordability comes up when we talk about how these things can be affordable. You know, a can of Pringles is $1.19. A package of carrots is 99 cents. So we can talk about, you know, things that are relatable, and that's the crunch that they want. You can even put a little seasoning on your carrots to get that salt flavor that you think you need, or whatever it may be. You can go over these teeny little small modifications. It makes such a big difference for someone who really has just been in there stagnant. You know, throughout people's lifestyle, there's been research that says 200 foods. That's as many foods as people eat.
Right. That's
Throughout their lifestyle. Just 200. They don't go above and beyond that many. And if I think about it, I mean, it seems like a lot, but throughout your entire life, you only eat the same 200 things. It's mind-blowing, and how much more interesting
absolutely.
it could be. So even the smallest little thing, like a fruit I've never seen before, I will buy it. Or, you know, a vegetable that my kids are in the grocery store and they want goldfish crackers, and I'm like, well, you got to pick out the favorite vegetable that we're going to cook first. So it's all about compromise, too. You have to make sure that it's not no, 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 you can't do that, you can't do this. In the world of diabetes, sometimes I think it's, we kind of, at times, and I'm guilty of this also, is kind of being really steadfast on what needs to happen. This is absolute. We'll rarely use the term mandatory with my patients because it's instantly restrictive. And I'll say, you know, you just have to be a little bit easy on yourself. Give yourself some grace when you walk out of the doors of this hospital. Make sure that when you go home, that things don't have to be like this as soon as you walk out of these doors. But try a different vegetable every Monday or every Sunday or whatever it may be. Just give it a try. And they're really, really in tune to making that small little change. Some of our patients are here just for diabetes, but the majority are here for many, many other things. They're here for open heart surgery. Not only do I want them to change the way they're eating, but they can't use certain parts of their body like they used to. They can't take a deep breath like they used to. They're worried about infection. They're worried about so many things. And then I'm taking away their favorite thing. I'm like, I can't have pop anymore. And I'm like, no.
Nope.
I'm very, you know, you always have to be, you know, steadfast in the things that you know will work. Best practice is great here. We want to make sure that the research is showing the way we're teaching. It really becomes something that people can live with and do easily.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I'm the same way. You know, that was that quote right there with we eat the same 200. I mean, that's just mind-blowing. Think about it. I mean, yeah, I can eat 50 of those in one day, to be quite honest with you.
And they do. They sample all day. These
Yeah, we do. That's I'm not the skinniest chef and never trust a skinny one. So
Yes. Here's a question.
yeah.
You could use a seasoning that you would like for a salty flavor. She asked when I was talking about like a carrot in relation to something that's crunchy. That's the crunch that people are looking for when they like a potato chip or a pretzel or something like that. It's like, well, that's the crunch of celery or carrots. But the taste isn't the same. So they're looking for something to spice it up a little bit. So put something on it that's just easy on you. Your favorite Mrs. Dash. If you don't like that, put on your favorite dried spice, whatever it may be. Lemon juice
Oh
and
yeah,
vinegar.
the
Great
acid behind the
recommendation.
taste. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Acid
That's a
does a
great
great job about
recommendation.
that. I'm a big fan of not garlic powder, but granulated garlic. I feel it gives it a great extra flavor if you like garlic. I hate vampires personally, so I eat a lot of garlic. I have a tendency to do that.
He's the
But
father of 3 small children. That's why that happens.
I mean, granulated garlic's a great way to do that. You know, you get that extra good flavor there, that good, you know, garlic flavor, but it seems like it adds a little sodium when it really doesn't. So behind it. Okay, well, for our shrimp allergens, we actually did move some away here for you real quick. And I'm just going to this is actually starting to cook. Shrimp I just added at the very end, just kind of like this, and you can kind of see they were brown. They started to turn a little pink. Hopefully everybody can see that overhead there, just like that. See it? And that's what's actually going to give a super amount of flavor to it. But we're just actually going to cook that in the broth and let that go. I put the cover over it just because I want to get it to cook a little bit faster. The shellfish allergy there. I try my best to cook without allergens. There's one more with nuts in it, but you know, sometimes we can have them, sometimes we cannot. The crazy thing about that is that a lot of people don't actually know how to cook shrimp. Actually, to be honest with you, it's fast. If you guys ever want to know that, my shrimp tastes rubbery, like this is just gross. I don't like it. Well, first of all, make sure that you're buying non-cooked shrimp, because a lot of times butchers and seafood they'll put the cooked shrimp out before that other stuff. So when they reheat it, now you've double cooked shrimp, which is just going to kill it. And number two, like it only takes 2 to 3 minutes. The second it starts to curl and turn pink, You know, it's a brown product. The second it turns pink, it's done. Think about just taking it out of the pan there. All right, let's see if I can hopefully get this going here, and then we'll move on to our next one. All right, yeah, that's good enough. But we can let this cook for a little bit, but just for our demo purposes before we're all done. All right, so this is kind of cool. This is how we do this. Just crazy, like I said, viscosity on this soup here. Decent amount of vegetables. Looks amazing. And like I said, anytime that we eat with our eyes first, so if it doesn't look good, I don't want it. Put this in a big bowl for people, just go right ahead. You can add whatever you want to it. As I can see here, I've got those. Oh, forgot my black bean noodles.
We had a question from online. Someone asked, what are some other vegetable options that you could use to make pasta dishes other than the black beans?
Want some other options? to
Yes.
it?
Yeah, other.
Yeah, they make their garbanzo ones are awesome. Like, yeah, lentil noodles as well. So I mean, you got to think about all these beans and stuff like that.
Within the grocery store where you find these black bean noodles, you will see other options paired right with them.
Yeah.
Different noodles. Even now if you go into like your fresh produce section, you can find the spiralized zucchini noodles. You can find the spiralized squash. So you can, and that's already done for you. So those are all just as easy too, but they cook just as quickly.
Yep, those are great examples there. Well, hold on 1 second. Just find a good shrimpy here.
What is your thoughts on like the vegetable enriched pastas, like in the dried pasta section, where they have like different greens, or that's what we use for my daughter because she doesn't eat vegetables. So,
Yeah, I think anything that has, what's my take on using like the black bean or the other like enriched pastas?
Yep.
So I think all of those are great options. I think that if when you want a pasta, it's that texture that you want. If you can add a nutrient in there that's not just a grain, it's always a good option. Always a good option.
added,
And it's
right.
easy. So that'd be a great thing to use.
Once again, guys, these are all just quick adds here. Like I said, they cook in the pasta as long as it's hot. You can kind of just see it and just go from it there. However you want to do it. If you wanted some height on it, put that big, beautiful shrimpy there. And they'll actually, like I said, just cook right here. You can kind of see them. They're already starting to kind of turn, and they look pretty awesome. Like those little black specks that are in there, and voila, you have any sort of faux dish there, or pho dish there, I should say. And we're gonna let this cook just for a little bit longer here while we get the next recipe going. All right, cool. So hopefully we're gonna let this cook for a second here, guys. Hopefully everybody can see it there. And we'll more than welcome to have samples at the very end of this if anybody wants to come up and try. And push this off to the side, let it continue to go. Joe's gonna keep an eye on it for me. All right, there we go. Voila. Great broth, vegetable. Like I said, great broth. Fixes. I believe soup fixes everything. To be quite honest with you, but that's just me. All right. So when Colleen gave us this recipe, this is kind of neat. Actually, we started messing around with it here. This is very, very simple, guys. It's super easy. Kind of just had all my ingredients real quick here. And all you need, hopefully you guys can see this here, all you need is a bowl, some waffle cones here. And when she said it to me, I was like, this is a great way to use up all those extra Thanksgiving leftovers, man. Because you always have pecans. We've got some canned pumpkin. I have cheeses in my house if I bake cheesecakes for Thanksgiving, stuff like that. So like a majority of these spices are just, they're all there. And it's all anything that you can do with leftovers. I'm a big fan of leftover cooking, that kind of thing. Huge fan of leftover cooking. I figure that you're not a great chef unless you can make a leftover. And there's that. Cool. This one's so easy. Let Joe do this while I keep an eye on that after that. This is all it is dump in a bowl and kind of go. We want to start off by combining your cheeses, of course, and your spices and salt and mix it till it's kind of smooth there. And right on. All right. Take my cream cheese that really needed to thaw there, but a little bit more. I know you said it. It's fine. I get it. All right. A little spices here. And your salt here, correct? And our Splenda. I like Splenda. It's a common ingredient in my house. But you want to make sure that hopefully everybody can see that. See, this is why I said no whisk, Joe.
And it really is. With all the ingredients you see in the recipe, the cream cheese, the Splenda, cinnamon, nutmeg, clove, salt, ricotta cheese, canned pumpkin, vanilla extract. I mean, you really just smush that all in a bowl.
Yeah.
And this,
Great.
I love how when I send them recipes, they think maybe crazy, and they're like, actually, this turned out really good. Is that what I always hear? Actually.
Yeah, it really
'Cause
did.
typically
though.
they're
That's the
like,
thing. Like it
"What are
really
you
did.
doing?"
We were messing around with it. Like this is a great idea. Now we took some of the stuff out of it. We took the graham crackers that were in it out, and I just didn't think added extra carbs. You were going to be mad about me doing that.
No,
in any
that's
way, shape, or form.
That's perfect.
But yeah, we changed the sugar content in it as well. So we're just going to add a little bit of our canned pumpkin here. And, oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean it's all relative.
That's the main sweetener I use in my house is
Yeah.
Trubia.
Yeah. I use a lot of vanilla in mine. You get a lot of great flavor to it. And there we go. There we go. Hopefully everybody can see that there. All right. Yeah. Do. All right, Joe, you want to get this in here? Yep. So this is kind of cool. We're actually going to put just a little bit more of a binder to it. Since we took the graham cracker out of it, we ended up putting back the pecans and the. Unfortunately, we've only got 12. It's only ice cream cones I could buy on. But we're. What? Oh, we do. Okay. Oh, okay. There you go. That's a good idea. So we're gonna put half there, half of our nut. Ooh, there we go. Cut that there. Voila.
So the big change that he had made was he put in peanuts to substitute the graham crackers. So we took the graham crackers out and added in a good healthy fat.
Yep.
And again, people are like, well, what's a serving of peanuts? Well, you're not going to get, when it comes to this serving that you're going to receive, you're not going to get an overwhelming of fat, regardless of how good or bad it is for you. It's not going to be this huge amount of stuff. So it's all about portion and moderation, too, when you're cooking things like this.
Yeah. Joe's gonna pipe that up for you guys here. That way anybody can taste it. And that was it. You see how easy that recipe was, guys? That's just portioning stuff out. Takes all 5 minutes to do.
So here's one of the big differences too. I'm from the East Coast, like I had said. We have amazing Italian food out there, and probably the best tasting cannolis I've ever had in my life. However, I struggle with blood sugar control for a straight 12 hours after I eat one of those. So on your typical cannoli, wherever it may be, 374 calories and 45 grams of carbohydrates. So when it comes to eating that, this is something that if you splurge, you will have to move afterwards. I want you active after you eat something like a huge cannoli if you need to have
absolutely.
that whole regular thing. Activity is just as important as what you eat, especially for your understanding of how your blood sugars take effect with that. But to compare this recipe for one cone, 163 calories and 15 grams of carbohydrates and almost 5.5 grams of protein, which is unheard of in a regular cannoli because they're adding a lot more sugar in there too. That giant fried, nice little sleeve of deliciousness that they
It's
they fry it
fried
in
goodness.
first. So that's where all the carbs are coming from. When it comes to these cones, I don't know if you've seen, I get those teeny little mini cones too for my kids. They're just so little. But when you come to something like this, portion is everything. It's the cutest appetizer in the world to put out at like your kids' birthday parties. If you're doing like a small whipped cream and you make a sugar-free pudding with it and you just put that instead of ice cream in one of those little cones and have them, because I have 3 and 7-year-olds, they're not staying still long enough to have something that's big and huge. And I don't want them to, so I want them to be active and run and start doing their thing. So these little ones, you can just sit them in those little flat cones on the bottom, and it's the cutest thing. They love it. And it's so easy. It's so easy. It takes no time.
Yeah, like I said, Joe's sitting here making this. He's piping up stuff right now for everybody to be. You guys watch me do it.
And he'll pipe
There
in
was no
some of
magic
that
TV
icing.
to this.
Some of the filling is what he'll pipe into there for you guys to have with some of the
You can at least try
cone
it.
on the top.
You know, that kind of stuff.
What questions do you have? Is there any questions that we have right now?
Oh, good.
My husband is diabetic, and he struggles because he was a meat and potatoes guy. Potatoes or rice.
Sure.
With everything.
Sure.
Mostly rice, and, I've done the cauliflower, baked rice and stuff, but is there anything you would recommend that can, substitute for that kind of thing?
So I think too, and right around, so the bulk of it. The question was, for those who are watching online was, we have a lot of meat and tater eaters here. So we're thinking of things to substitute when people say, I just can't, It's easy for them. It's what they're used to. So what do we substitute for the bulk of what that potato used to be? Oftentimes in my Thanksgiving, and Dave was saying this also, is that I will make like a sweet potato, but I'll half that with a squash or something that's a much less of a carb. So that's what I'll mix in
Actually,
and blend in.
I did that for mine. I did that for
Acorn
my
squash,
holiday.
you can blend that in. Something that I
Yeah.
also do too is I will just cut an acorn squash in half, similar to spaghetti squash. I don't know who's had that here too. I'll just cut an acorn squash in half and bake it, and then I'll flip it and pack it with whatever meat that they think that they need. So it's the bulk that they want. It's the taste that they love. And I'll put like a yogurt-based butter on that, like a Brummel and Brown butter that's yogurt-based. So it takes a lot of the unhealthy fat out. And again, I want the best we can be. The best that we have is what I want us to do and what I want us to present. But I'm not going to talk someone into or even try to convince someone in the session that I get to see them to stop eating just meat and potatoes. It's difficult. So what we do is small modifications, and I hope that helps and answers the question that you had.
If you guys want to try some of this stuff too, Joe is for his internship. For every internship that culinarian that we have that comes in through us, we actually have dietetic interns. Excuse me, got confused there for a second. Joe's actually going to be doing some of this stuff in 1 week from today. We'll have it at the cafeteria. What we're actually talking about right now, doing the butternut squash mash or that kind of things, just a kind of way to show you implementing those kind of foods. So I highly recommend swinging by the Action Station, the cafeteria next Friday if you get a chance, and try Joe's cornucopia that he's going to actually be doing there. Just to kind of like I said, show what Colleen's actually talking about there. So. All right,
What other questions? Anything else? Any food substitutions that you'd like to know about and really see what we try to drive home every day for the people that we see in our OSU family that we love? Yes. I use whatever's in my house. So if it's one of those little squeeze packs, that's going in there. Let's go, whatever it might be, if I can get my hands on it. But yes, I will. I like to make homemade applesauce since my husband loves to make homemade applesauce, actually, not me. So I'll make that and I'll use that. But if you think about it, Honeycrisp apples, when we do portions too, here's an Ohio Honeycrisp apple. It's like the size of a small pumpkin. And then we have the ones that we're trying to teach them, the size of a baseball. Have that. Those are the ones that you buy in the bags that are already pre-made. But then you get the Honeycrisp. They're the size of a pumpkin. So we also say share that with your family. If you're going to eat a big Honeycrisp apple in Ohio in September, you're going to share it with people in your family. So, and it's not, that's what they want to know. That's what they want to hear. So it's kind of like, oh, okay, I never thought about even sharing an apple. But I mean, it works.
There's a question online. Can you mention or do a brief overview on the effects of walking after eating has on blood sugar, insulin resistance, and how much does it help?
So I think that when it comes to eating your food, there goes an insulin spike, a blood sugar surge. So at that time, what also combats that naturally is activity. So if you take 3 10-minute walks after your meals, you will see your need for medication drop. You'll see your need for how you metabolize your food drop. And there's articles out there that support that also. It's just making sure that you're able to be physically active also. It's a great indicator. And when I ask my patients, I'd like you to be active for 30 minutes daily. But when I tell them, walk for 10 minutes after each of your meals, it's way more attainable for them. 150 minutes a week, that number, 150 minutes a week, is sometimes mind-blowing. When I say that, even to myself, was like, we're busy and we have lots of priorities. But when I say get up and take a walk for 10 minutes after you eat, people in my office, when I go back to my office, I'm like, we need to be mobile. We need to move, to walk. So I think there is a lot of research that also supports that. But it's the insulin resistance. Your body, if it stays stagnant, will gain fat deposits, which makes you more insulin resistant. It's kind of the perfect marriage, food and then activity. Just works.
Cool. All right, guys. If you guys want to, thanks for being here. We really appreciate you
One
taking your
more
time out of your day.
question.
One more
If you
question.
have another question, that's fine.
When going to like holiday parties and stuff, like I have friends with cancer type 1, what information should we have available?
So I think that is an excellent question. So she had asked, for people who may have children with type 1 diabetes and they're coming to holiday parties, it's making the cute little things cute for everyone. I don't ever, when I have a party for myself, no one will ever eat differently than me. No one will ever eat differently, just because everyone should be eating the way someone lives with diabetes eats. Mm-hmm. So if you're working with moderation, if you're working for the cuteness, I'll never put out a full cone if No one, if one person in there can't have a full ice cream cone because it's too many carbohydrates, I'll always serve the little ones and have the total carbs. Cut the nutrition labels out and just maybe stick them on a piece of paper. And all they want to know, those parents are very well trained to look at total carbohydrates because they have to dose insulin specifically to what the total carbs are for their meals. I would just have your foods, what they are, because they're going to they'll be in a situation, an environment where they're going to be like, oh my goodness, this is totally different than me. You know, I'm not used to eating this way. However, if you can instill that value into, you know, every person in your community, in your audience, in your family, just say, you know, this is the way we eat. You may not eat this way, but I want you just to know what the food in your body, because everyone should know, just because you have type 1 diabetes, but all of us should be doing what you do. Is that helpful?
Any other questions? Great. Just want to thank you, before you guys get this, I want to thank you guys for coming. Everyone received an evaluation. If you can fill that out, we greatly would appreciate it. Our next Lunch and Learn will be in the James B050. It'll be on budgeting for 2019. So thanks for coming.
Thank you very much, guys.
And help yourself.
No, help yourself,
please.
guys. Yeah, there's samples
There's
up here for
also
everybody.
salads in the back if you'd like to take one or take one to your colleague. Please do.